Alright, so once again, hello guys, and welcome to this last class of our project, of our course project. So until now, we are supposed to have something like this for our database, which is all the data that we have. So we have each and every one of our students, how much time they studied, if they studied between 31 and between 10 or 20 or 30 hours or whatever, the grade of each one, the average, and everything. Well, we have all the data that we need. So the next thing that we want to do is insert a tab here, and we want to import this data right there. When it's done, we want to insert tabs all over here to import the average. So for example, math average will go here, French average will go here, English average will go here, science average will go here, and art average will go here. It's supposed to give you something like this. So as I said, you import all the between. So everything is imported there. So you just insert a tab, you import all your betweens, you import your math average, French average, English average, science average, art and art average. So our goal now is to analyze all this data, and I will analyze our gradebook, since the main goal is not to create a gradebook that you gonna give to your students. It's really to create a gradebook that you will be able to analyze and understand the data. So how do we do this? How do we create our gradebook with all the data and everything? Well, it's very simple. We're gonna do it by using pivot tables and pivot charts, of course. So the first thing we wanna do when we have all this data, so first of all, as I said, is really give a name to each of your things. So for example, time studied in hours, and here just time studied. Math average, you can put AV instead of average if you don't want to write the average. You know what, we're gonna write down average because we'll have a lot of data, so we don't want all right, amazing. So right now the first thing we want to do is select all our tabs. So don't forget, we don't select everything, we just select this part of the tab of our data. When it's all done, very simple, we simply click on insert, and not pivot tables, but pivot tables right here, and pivot chart and pivot table, because we want to generate both of them. That's amazing. So right now we can see absolutely everything. We have all our data ready, we have all our calculations set. So let's see what we can learn from this. So for example, we select the name of the students, we select the time studied, and from this we can, for example, we want to look at the math and math average. So what we can understand, for example, from this. For example, right here, we can see that, let me just make it a bit bigger. All right, amazing. So for example, right here, the student number 1 studied between 11 and 20 hours. He has a grade of 40, well, he received 40%, and the class average is 63. So as you can see, guys, by seeing this, we can definitely say that there is no correlation between the time studied and how much the person received, the grade of the person. If we don't want to look at it this way, we can look at it this way. So as we can see, the time studied doesn't have an effect on the grade that the person received. Like, for example, how can we say it? Well, here, for example, this person didn't study this much, but had a grade completely bigger than the average, which is here. That's the grade of the person. Or another example, right here, for example, this person studied almost 40 hours, but received, 40%, well, 42%, which doesn't really make sense because this person studied a lot. What we can do also is really compare all the classes together. So for example, we select all the classes, and we can compare each class to its average. So for example, the average of each class, we can compare it. Well, it's gonna be a bit complicated doing it like this, but what we can do, but it's possible. We can do it this way. We can also delete the students. And instead of comparing, well, to average, we can compare, let's say for example, math with math average. So here we have the sums. It doesn't really make sense, but if you place it the right way, well, it's gonna start to make sense. Here we go. So as you can see, this doesn't make really a lot of sense because what's happening is that they put together sums of averages. So we can't really use it because it doesn't really make sense. But there is possibilities. For example, with if we put names with I don't know, we can compare. We can put names and how much time study, for example, or the reverse. For example, this way. All right. So that's exactly what we did at the beginning. So as you can see, guys, there is possibility. You can do absolutely everything with all this. So right now we have our database, and you exactly know what are the different ways for you to analyze all this data that you just received. So as you can see, it's not very complicated. What you can do also to be able to analyze it even better, well, for example, we can come back to our data. We select all our data, and we can generate tables that, for example, will generate what Excel will suggest us to generate. For example, recommended pivot tables. Well, right here, Excel generate us different datas. Well, different datas. As I said, some of them will not make sense because Excel makes a lot of sums. So sometimes there are sums, and we don't really need this. But this is why we have to select the right data that will make sense for us. As you can see, there is a lot of sums, so those data don't make sense. But for example, if you have your own, let's say, pivot table right here, it's like your own dashboard. You can control it the way you want. So this is really a great thing, and it's an amazing tool for you guys to be able to analyze all your database, all your data that you have. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little app. Once again, it wasn't something very complicated, but the way I tried to create it is really so you will be able to integrate everything that we learned in this class. So we saw all the basic functions, for example, the average, the min, the max. We saw the if function here. We put it together plus than one page, so we used 2 pages. We created, the if function, we created an if and function, which is a more advanced if function. We put everything together, and we created a pivot table at the end. So as you can see, guys, Excel is not something really complicated, sorry. It's just a question of practice. The more you practice it, the more you're gonna see it's gonna become easier, and the more you will be able to create more advanced apps. Once again, we didn't even saw the VBA programming on Excel. And as I said, it's just an introduction. So right now, I think you have all what you need. to be able to create great things in Excel. So that's it for this course, guys, and see you all in our last Excel class.